Hi again. We're on page number 35 of Pursuit of His Presence by Kenneth and Gloria Copeland. It starts with Psalms chapter 34, verse 19, which says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all." Set your angels free. I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that every one of us or someone we know is facing some kind of problem today. Some kind of problem, some kind of trouble we can't escape without the help of God. For one person, that trouble may be a disease that medical science can't cure. For another, it may be financial problems or a family crisis. But no matter what kind of wall the devil has backed you up against, you can count on one thing. God has promised to deliver you. That's right. The word says the afflictions of the righteous are many, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. How I love the word all in the Bible. In Psalms chapter 91, verses 9 through 11, it says, "Because you have made the Lord your refuge, and the Most High your dwelling place, there shall no evil befall you, nor any plague or calamity come near your tent. For he will give his angels especial charge over you to accompany and defend and preserve you in all your ways of obedience and service." God gives his angels charge over you. He charges them to protect you, to keep you, to minister to you. To me? Yes. To you? Does that surprise you? It shouldn't. As Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14 says, "Are not the angels all ministering spirits, servants sent out of the service of God for the assistance of those who are to inherit salvation?" If you are an heir of salvation, angels are sent out in service to you. And their ministry can literally be a lifesaver. Read about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in Daniel 3. I've noticed something about people whose angels supernaturally delivered them. They were faithful people. If you need deliverance today, be faithful. You can do this with the words you speak. When you speak words of defeat instead of victory, the angels assigned to you are bound by your words of unbelief. They have been charged to hearken to God's words, words of faith. You can read this in the book of Psalms, chapter 103, verse 20. If you haven't been getting the action you need in your finances, your health, or any other area, look to your words. There's no shortage of angel power, although you may be experiencing a shortage of word power on your part. Solve that shortage by putting God's promises of deliverance in your heart and in your mouth. Continually give the angels the word they need to protect you. When you are tempted to discuss how bad your situation is, stop. Remember your great salvation. Remember the angels. Remember what God's word says about your situation. Open your mouth and set your angels free to minister to you. Speak the word. The Lord delivers me out of all my afflictions. Book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 19. For further study, we go to the book of Daniel, chapter 3. He's not in the hospital.
No?
No. Book of Daniel, chapter 3. King Nebuchadnezzar made a gold statue 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide, and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then he sent messages to the high officers, officials, governors, advisors, treasurers, magistrates, judges, and all the provincial officials to come to the dedication of the statue he had set up. So all these officials came and stood before the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald shouted out, "People of all races and nations and languages, listen to the king's command. When you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments, bow to the ground to worship King Nebuchadnezzar's gold statue. Anyone who refuses to obey will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace." So at the sound of the musical instruments, all the people, whatever their race or nation or language, bowed to the ground and worshipped the gold statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. But some of the astrologers went to the king and informed on the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "Long live the king! You issued a decree requiring all the people to bow down and worship the gold statue when they hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments. That decree also states that those who refuse to obey must be thrown into a blazing furnace. But there are some Jews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whom you have put in charge of the province of Babylon. They pay no attention to you, your majesty. They refuse to serve your gods and do not worship the gold statue you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar flew into a rage and ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought before him. When they were brought in, Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you refuse to serve my gods or to worship the gold statue I have set up? I will give you one more chance to bow down and worship the statue I have made when you hear the sound of the musical instruments. But if you refuse, you will be thrown immediately into the blazing furnace, and then what God will be able to rescue you from my power?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue you have set up." Nebuchadnezzar was so ferocious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that his face became distorted with rage. He commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual. Then he ordered some of the strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So they tied them up and threw them into the furnace fully dressed in their pants, turbans, robes, and other garments. And because the king, in his anger, had demanded such a hot fire in the furnace, the flames killed the soldiers as they threw the 3 men in. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, securely tied, fell into the roaring flames. But suddenly Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, "Didn't we tie 3 men up and throw them into the furnace?" "Yes, Your Majesty, we certainly did," they replied. "Look," Nebuchadnezzar shouted, "I see 4 men unbound, walking around in the fire unharmed, and the 4th looks like a god." Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door. Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. Then the high officers, officials, governors, and advisors crowded around them and saw that the fire had not touched them. Not a hair on their heads was singed, and their clothing was not scorched. They didn't even smell of smoke. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sent his angel to rescue his servants who trusted in him. They defied the king's command and were willing to die rather than serve or worship any god except their own. Therefore, I make this decree. If any people, whatever their race or nation or language, speak a word against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they will be torn limb from limb, and their houses will be turned into heaps of rubble. There is no other God who can rescue like this." Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to even higher positions in the province of Babylon. God bless.